I saw you jumping in at that time.
So Brandon thought that it was because of me that they stopped it.
Oh.
And he thought he could still continue, but you know, I talked to the ref, and Brandon also seen the fight already. He called me and says, "Look, bro, I'm sorry for blaming you, but I seen the ref already stopping the fight before you were even inside the ring." You know, I felt when I see him go down, you know, fighters go down, sometimes they're able to get up, and the ref sometimes gives them the opportunity to
stabilize themselves,
to fight, you know. But when I see Brandon trying to get up, he was having a hard time getting up. So right there, kind of gave me the idea that it wasn't that he wasn't very good. So I asked my cutman, Dr. Anderson. He was keeping track of the time. I asked him, how much time do we have left? And he says 44 seconds. I said, that's still too much time. Still too much time. So I told Donald, who was the main guy, you know, what do they call it?
The head trainer?
Yeah, well, he was. I told Donald, look, bro, we gotta stop this fight. He says, let's do it. So I told the inspector, stop the fight. This is when Brandon was, you know, trying to get up. Before the ref had already waved it up. I told the inspector, stop the fight. Because here in California, the inspector, we have to tell the inspector so they could go up.
And they do, and notify the ref, right?
Yes, but he told me, no, you have to go up there. So by the time he told me, I'm trying to jump in the ring, and you know, Kenny Bailey had already waved it up. So it wasn't really me that stopped the fight, or it wasn't Kelly Bailey's that seen me. That's why he stopped it. He seen that Brandon was still hurt, and he waved it up.
I know you two are like really close. You guys are like brothers all the time. What was the conversation like after the fight in the locker room, just soaking it in and just afterwards?
He was upset because he felt that he could still continue, and at one point, rather in the locker room in front of everybody, he was pretty much. You know, asking me why did I do it? You know, bro, you know me. I know I die in the ring, and you shouldn't have stopped it. Still thinking that it was me that stopped it. But everybody told me, Brandon, you were hurt. His wife told Brandon, can't blame nobody. You were hurt. You know, I know. You know, I'm your wife. You were hurt. Robert did the right thing. Still thinking that it was me, but after. It was only like us there in the locker room because I made that decision to stop it, but everybody else that didn't even see me try to stop it. It was the ref that stopped it. So, you know, he was a little upset, you know, but it's part of boxing. He thought he could continue. I think he was hurt, and the ref thought the same thing. That's why he stopped it.
He fought very well. You know, I mean, I've seen a lot of fans kind of tell me just that he fought a lot better than kind of they were expecting, things like that. And you know, I feel like even with the loss, it kind of puts his name back there as far as like, you know, he's not a guy to kind of look over.
I think so too. Look, Brandon's always been a very, very tough guy. Great heart, probably one of the biggest hearts in boxing. You know, like he says, he was right in the ring, and he was always able to block, get hit, but take a good punch. This time, you know, he went down. Danny Garcia's a solid guy, you know, very strong. But I think Brandon did do better than anybody else expected. I think very, very, very few people even thought he even had a chance to go past 3 or 4 rounds, because that's what everybody was expecting, for Danny to just destroy him in 3 or 4 rounds. But everybody's told us that Brandon is better than they expected. And I think so too. You know, you know, one thing about Brandon is he really trained for this fight. He was motivated. He trained. He sparred a lot of rounds. He sparred with all my young guys in my gym, you know, that are hungry, that want to prove something against a former world champion. And most of them weren't able to handle his pressure for more than 4 rounds. His diet was perfect. You know, he was 1 pound under the night before, so he even, you know, was able to have some breakfast. So everything was perfect. He did everything right. You know, it's just that, you know, Danny got him with a good punch. Danny fought a good fight. Danny had a great game plan too. You know, whatever, you know, we seen that Danny was smart. But every time Brandon was able to get him to the rope, Danny was able to hold, and that's part of the game plan. You know, he was able to put his shoulder in to avoid that uppercut that Brandon throws. So his dad and Danny came up with a good game plan too. So it was I think it was good for Brandon. Even though he lost, I think he's still in a position where I'm sure there's still going to be interest for him to fight names at the welterweight division.
Where do you put Danny? Being that you saw him close, where do you put Danny as far as the welterweights?
I think at the welterweight division he's up there with, he lost to Thurman, so maybe Thurman has to be on top. You have Terrence Crawford now at welterweight, which I think he's probably one or two best welterweights out there with Keith Thurman. But he's still up there, maybe top five welterweights.
Robert, would you still want that Ortiz versus Rios fight? Because that's a big money.
Well, look, I don't know if there's going to be any talk about that fight now that Ortiz also fought, and Ortiz had if I'm not mistaken, he had a draw. So it must have been a close fight. Then with a former world champion too, so they're both in a position where the fight will make sense. I don't know if that's what's next. I don't know if Ortiz is gonna want to do the fight, or even if we make the decision to maybe fight something else before anything big. But it could be, and it would be big, especially here in LA. I think that's a big fight. And after seeing Brandon fight against Danny the way he did, I think fans will probably want to see the fight.
I spoke to Danny after the fight. He said that he couldn't believe how Brandon took those shots, and also after the fight, he was really marked up. If he took off his glasses, you could see it.
Right.
Were you surprised by that?
Look, Brandon's always been that type of fighter. He breaks his opponents down. He's landing, keep coming. He keeps coming until he's able to dominate. His fights when he won the title, it was something like that. He was behind on points. He lost, if I'm not mistaken, the first four or five rounds in that fight, but then kept coming, knocked the guy out in the 11th. That's the way Brandon fights. He starts off slow, but then finishes strong. That was the same fight, the same way the fight was going. I think those last 3 rounds probably would have been Brandon's rounds, but could have been. The fight ended before that, so there's nothing we could do. Danny did a great job, fought a great fight, and landed a perfect punch.
What did you think about him showing support to Brandon afterwards?
Look,
about the critics and
because it's true, man. In this sport, you lose one and everybody talks bad about you, talks bad about the coach. Nobody knows how the fighters feel and how the fighters are after the fights. And Danny has gone through that too. He lost the fight, and he knows how it is. A lot of people have criticize him for cherry picking his opponents, but it's like nobody. If he fights a hard fight and then wants to get 1 or 2 in between, great champions have done it. The best fighters in the world have done it. So criticize. People are always going to criticize. There's always going to be people finding something to talk bad about you, and Brandon's going through that, going to go through that, has been there before. He's been on top, he's been at the bottom. We've been there too, trainers, every fighter goes through that. So it's just something that we got to know that it's part of this business. We one day we're on top of the world, the next fight, everybody counts us out. That's what it is.